Opinion editorial. Oh, okay. Opinion editorial. Op-ed.
to the Caribbean 6, that it had a devastating effect on his career, that the Washington Post, like the Hollywood Reporter and Variety, is one of those main publications that everyone in the industry reads. And as we were just waiting to go back live, and we heard the testimony of this IP expert who was able to track the likability and favorability of Johnny Depp, given the allegations in 2016 and 2000.
All right, please be seated. All right, cross-examination.
Good afternoon, Mr. Banya.
Good afternoon.
Mr. Banya, you understand that this case is about the op-ed in December of 2018, correct?
I understand this case to be about the allegations of domestic abuse, both as it relates to the 2016 and the republication of that, the 2018 Washington Post op-ed.
You understand that Mr. Depp is only suing Amber about the op-ed from December 2018, correct?
My understanding is, I can base my understanding on my analysis, which includes the 2016 allegations of
That's
abuse.
your analysis, but do you understand what Mr. Depp is suing Amber for in this case?
Objection, Your Honor, to the extent it calls for a legal conclusion.
All right, I'll sustain the objection. Next question.
Did you read the complaint in this case?
Yes.
Did you understand that Mr. Depp was only suing for the op-ed, about the op-ed?
Yes.
Okay. And Mr. Depp was not suing Amber in this case from his complaint about the accusation she made in 2016, correct?
That is my understanding.
And you're not able to separate out how Mr. Depp's reputation was impacted from the op-ed in 2018 versus how it was impacted when Ms. Heard filed for divorce in 2016, correct?
That is not correct.
Okay. May I have her adjourn?
Yes, sir.
Mr. Vanya, you took a deposition in this case,
Yes, I did.
and I was asking you the questions in that case, is that right?
That's correct.
And you took that deposition on March 21st, 2022,
That is correct.
and you were under oath at the time, correct?
Yes,
And you're under oath to tell the truth, correct?
correct.
Can you turn to page 83 of your transcript, which is on the 21st page of the,
I'm here?
okay, and you see line 9,
Yes.
and I ask you, are you able to separate out how Mr. Depp's reputation was impacted from the op-ed versus how it was impacted by when Ms. Heard filed for divorce, and your answer was no, correct?
Correct.
Okay. And you're not able to separate out how Mr. Depp's reputation was impacted from the op-ed in 2018 versus the publicity surrounding when Mr. Depp sued the Sun newspaper in the United Kingdom when a Sun writer called Mr. Depp a wife beater, correct?
Are you still reading from my deposition?
No, I'm asking you a question now.
Please repeat that.
You're not able to separate out how Mr. Depp's reputation was impacted from the op-ed in 2018 versus the publicity surrounding when Mr. Depp sued the Sun newspaper in the United Kingdom when a Sun writer called Mr. Depp a wife beater.
Objection, compound, Your Honor.
Sustained.
You're not able to separate out how Mr. Depp's reputation was impacted from the op-ed in 2018 versus the publicity surrounding when Mr. Depp sued the Sun newspaper in the United Kingdom, correct?
My analysis shows that the web documents that I reviewed after the 2018 allegations.
Respectfully, this is a yes or no.
got worse.
This is a yes or no question.
Please repeat the question.
You're not able to separate out how Mr. Depp's reputation was impacted from the op-ed in 2018 versus the publicity surrounding when Mr. Depp sued the Sun newspaper in the United Kingdom.
That was not part of my analysis to carve that out.
And you didn't. You were not able to separate it, correct?
I didn't try to.
Okay, and so you couldn't.
I didn't try it.
Okay. And you understand that the article Mr. Depp sued the Sun over had the headline that said, "How can J.K. Rowling be genuinely happy casting wife beater Johnny Depp in the new Fantastic Beasts film," correct?
I don't recall if that's one of the articles I reviewed.
Do you know if that article came out before Ms. Heard's op-ed?
I don't know.
Now, you're not offering an opinion as to how the op-ed from Ms. Heard in December 2018 impacted Mr. Depp's career, correct?
Repeat that, please.
You're not offering an opinion as to how the op-ed from Ms. Heard in December 2018 impacted Mr. Depp's career.
Correct.
Okay. And you're not offering an opinion as to how the op-ed from Ms. Heard in December 2018 impacted Mr. Depp's reputation.
What I'm doing is
It's a yes or no. Are you offering an opinion to that or not?
My opinion is related to his public image.
You're not offering an opinion as to how the op-ed from Ms. Heard in December 2018 impacted Mr. Depp's reputation, correct?
I'm not talking exactly about his reputation, correct?
And you're not offering an opinion as to how the op-ed from Ms. Heard in December 2018 impacted Mr. Depp's public image, correct?
I mean, I'm offering an opinion that after the 2018
It's a yes or
his
no,
public
sir.
image.
It's a yes or no. You're not offering an opinion as to how the op-ed from Ms. Heard in December 2018 impacted Mr. Depp's public image.
I am.
Turn to your deposition transcript, please. And if you go to page 74, which is on page 19. And you see line, there?
Yes.
You see line 1, starting on line 1. I asked you, and you're not going to testify how the December 2018 op-ed impacted Mr. Depp's public image. Answer, that's correct. That was your testimony at the time,
Okay.
correct?
Well,
That was
Johnny
your answer
Depp's
at the time, correct?
perception is
Sir,
a
that was
negative
your answer at the
perception.
time, correct?
Okay. Yes.
And that was your answer on March 21st, 2022, correct?
Yes, the date of the deposition.
So that was a month and a half ago,
Right.
correct? Okay. And you're not offering an opinion as to whether the op-ed from Ms. Heard made Mr. Depp more hireable or less hireable, correct?
Correct.
As to the articles that came up in the Google searches that you spoke about, it was you made the determination whether the articles had a, quote, negative connotation or not, right?
Correct.
And so that's just your view if an article had a negative connotation about Mr. Depp, right?
Yes, that's my opinion that they had a negative connotation.
Right. So if an article criticizes Mr. Depp's acting, for example, you're not considering that article as having a negative connotation about Mr. Depp, correct?
Repeat that, please.
So if an article criticizes Mr. Depp's acting, you're not considering that article as having a negative connotation about Mr. Depp, correct?
Correct.
Okay. Now, in your analysis of Google spikes, the highest spike in searches for Mr. Depp was in January 2004, correct?
Correct.
Okay, and I guess you guys have it. Can you put up the demonstrative 1236? And can you see that, Mr.
Yes.
Grant? Can we make it just a little bigger? Okay. So if I'm understanding you correctly, A is where the most searches were conducted for Johnny Depp, correct?
Correct.
And that's from January 2004, correct?
Correct.
So that was 18 years ago?
Correct.
Okay. And that was when Ms. Heard was 18 years old?
I don't know.
Okay. The top spike you mark as 100, correct?
I did not mark that, but Google Trends identified that spike as 100.
And where it says 100, you don't know how many people actually searched for Johnny Depp at that point, correct?
Well, the Google Trends algorithm marks the highest point of search as 100, and then everything is compared to that as a ratio or a percent. So if you notice that A is 100, everything else is lower than that because everything is being compared to that highest point.
Right, so you don't know how many people actually did the search for Johnny Depp in January 2004, correct?
Correct.
It could be 100 or it could be 1 million, right?
I don't know.
And you don't know if it's actually human beings doing these searches, correct?
As opposed
As
to,
opposed to bots or something like that.
I did not do an analysis to determine if it was a bot or a human being, but Google Trends is a tool that's going to show you during a time frame the highest point of search interest as 100.
Okay. But you don't know if it's humans, bots, my cat doing the searches, correct?
Objection asked and answered, Your Honor.
Sustained. Next question.
Now, in all of these Google spikes, Ms. Heard's op-ed never came up as one of the top 3 searches in any of the Google spikes, correct?
Well, that is correct because Google Trends is based on a search of a word or a name. And because Mr. Depp's name was not mentioned in that op-ed, Google Trends did not pick that up.
So a person does a search for Johnny Depp, and the op-ed doesn't come up, correct?
In my analysis, the op-ed did not come up.
And in fact, the red line, the red dotted line all the way to the right, that shows when the op-ed was published on December 18th, 2018, correct?
Yes.
Okay. And the searches are actually going down right after the red line, correct?
As opposed to the searches in 2004?
No. Look at the red line, look at the red dotted line, and you have two points here, right there. Those go down from the time of the op-ed, correct?
Correct.
Okay. And isn't it true that the next, I guess, spike happens in March of 2019, correct? Right there.
Yes.
And do you know that it was March of 2019 when Mr. Depp sued Amber Heard in this case?
No, I didn't look at that date.
Right. You didn't look at any articles for this bullet, correct?
That's correct.
And since Ms. Heard's op-ed came out on December 18th, 2018, you would agree with me that by definition, all the spikes you analyzed before December 18, 2018 could not have been caused by the op-ed, right?
Correct.
So articles about Mr. Depp's drug use before December 2018 could not have been caused by the op-ed, correct?
Correct.
And you, in this chart, analyze only 2 spikes after the op-ed, isn't that right?
That is correct.
Okay. And the first spike you analyzed after December 2018 is V, correct?
Yes.
And is that January 2020?
Roughly, yes.
Okay. So that's January 2020 is over a year after the op-ed by Ms. Heard, correct?
That's correct.
And then the next spike you analyzed was T, correct?
Yes.
And that was in approximately July 2020?
Correct.
Okay, so that was a year and a half after Ms. Heard's op-ed, correct?
Yes.
And again, none of the articles, and then for V and T, if I understand it, you then analyze the top 3 searches that came up, or the top 3 websites that came up after a search?
Correct.
Okay. And none of the articles you analyzed in those Google spikes after the op-ed were the op-ed, correct?
Correct.
Okay. And isn't it true that the headlines of the articles over a year after the op-ed that you analyzed were about Mr. Depp suing the Sun in the UK for a Sun writer calling Mr. Depp a wife beater?
You would have to pull those articles back up, but I don't have those in front of me.
Isn't it true that the article, and just so I understand it, V and T, that would mean there were 6 articles, correct, that you analyzed?
Yes.
Okay. And isn't it true that the article on February 26, 2020, the headline was, quote, Johnny Depp's disturbing alleged text messages read aloud in court as libel lawsuit begins?
Again, I don't have that article in front of me. I did produce those as part of my analysis. I don't have that in front of me, if you'd like to show it to me.
And you understand that that was about the lawsuit against the Sun in the UK, not about the op-ed, correct?
Again, I did not have that in front of me.
And another article that came up on February 27th, 2020 is one of the top 3 hits when you search for Johnny Depp. What the headline was, quote, let's burn Amber, texts allegedly sent by Johnny Depp about X read in court.
I mean, if you want to talk about these articles, we need to bring them up.
This is your opinion. You don't recall what articles you analyzed?
I mean, there's a lot of articles here. I didn't memorize each title.
There were 6 articles that you
Okay.
analyzed in the almost 2 years after the op-ed.
All right, can you bring those up and we can talk about them?
And on July 19th, 2020, the headline was, quote, Hollywood nervously awaits fallout from explosive Johnny Depp trial. You don't recall one way or the other whether that was one of the articles in either B or T?
Again, I know if you want to bring up my documents, I know document 9J, 9O, 9K, and 9M are mentioning the op-ed. Again, I don't have those in
And
front of me.
when you say mentioning the op-ed, does that mean that it just references that Mr. Depp sued Amber Heard in Fairfax?
No, it talks about how he's alleged to have abused her as it relates to the op-ed.
Doesn't it say, I mean, another headline from July 19th, 2020, the headline was, quote, Hollywood nervously awaits fallout from explosive Johnny Depp trial?
Objection asked and answered.
Oh, sustained objection. Next question.
You understood that was about the lawsuit against the Sun in the UK, correct?
Objection asked and
I
answered.
didn't ask about that.
Overruled.
Again, I would like